Wednesday morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
Addressing the UN General Assembly, North Korea blames the U.S. for continuing tensions on the Korean peninsula by pursuing military domination of Northeast Asia with Pyongyang in its sights as the first attack target.
That's right, Young. In the meantime, President Park Geun-hye says the South Korean military needs to strengthen its defense system. More coming up in the headlines.
And 국악 fans, take note. There are show cancellations tied to the government's budget for next year. We'll tell you more on In Print. And do you need a new cell phone? Well, people here in Korea can now get one at their local post office. More on this coming up.
Korea commemorates the International Day of Older Persons today. We have some smart and convenient last-minute gift ideas for your parents or your grandparents. It's a battle between two historic rivals, Yonsei and Korea University. It boosts the school spirit and lets students go a little wild. Let the games begin live on this Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013.
From Arirang News. This is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today.
Thank you for tuning in. If you ever walked down the sidewalk here in Seoul and almost tripped over a broken sidewalk block, then you could go to the Seoul City government and complain about it, or you can adopt that sidewalk and make it better. The Seoul Metropolitan Government just yesterday announced plans to allow individuals and companies to adopt a sidewalk.
That's right. This just kicked off with 23 different companies in the districts in Seoul, the major districts there. In Gangnam District, there are 12 companies that are participating, including POSCO as well as the Korea International Trade Association. And what these companies will do is they'll actually adopt the sidewalk adjacent to their building and be responsible for the cleaning, the repairs, as well as the maintenance. And in trade, the Seoul City government will offer them a nice little sign saying who it's sponsored by. So adopt a sidewalk.
Right. If you stretch out all the sidewalks in one line in Seoul, it will stretch up to 2,300 kilometers. So you could be the owner of a piece of that sidewalk. And I have a nice sidewalk in front of my house. Maybe I'll adopt that one, right? If you are interested, go to their website or call them.
So I do understand the small businesses will be able to participate as well.
Right. We'll begin Korea Today on this Wednesday morning with a look at the day's headlines.
It's because of the United States, says North Korea. Pyongyang has pointed the finger at Washington's quote-unquote hostile policy against the regime as the reason behind the continuing tensions on the Korean peninsula. North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Park Gi-ryun told the UN General Assembly on Tuesday that the U.S. was abusing the power of the UN Security Council, adding that imposing sanctions on Pyongyang after the regime's long-range rocket launch was unfair. Park also addressed the need to start talking about establishing internationally binding regulations on reducing nuclear weapons, but stressed that one of the things that needs to be done in order for that to happen is for Washington to first acknowledge the regime's sovereignty. It was the largest Armed Forces Day ceremony in 10 years. Thousands of military personnel gathered at the Seoul Air Base in the southern part of the capital on Tuesday to celebrate the nation's 65th Armed Forces Day. President Park Geun-hye was, of course, in attendance as well. She praised the South Korean military's prowess while emphasizing the purpose of the military is not to engage in war but to prevent it. The president also stressed the importance of a strong Seoul-Washington combined defense system and securing measures to deter North Korea's provocations.
핵과 대량 살상무기 대응 능력을 조기에 확보해서 북한 정권이 집착하는 핵과 미사일이 더 이상 쓸모없다는 것을 스스로 인식하도록 할 것입니다.
The measures President Park mentioned include an anti-WMD system dubbed the Kill Chain, as well as the Korea Air and Missile Defense System, or KAMD. She also emphasized the need to reform the country's military so that it becomes what she calls innovative and creative, so it can quickly adapt to changes and actively deal with threats. And moving on, an emergency hearing took place at the National Assembly on Tuesday. Lawmakers focused on grilling cabinet members over the government's downsized pension plan for senior citizens.
We are carefully asking those who have better incomes to be understanding and allow us to protect people in the lower income bracket.
But this is what the Prime Minister got in return.
If you want to ask for understanding, retract the tax breaks for the wealthy. This basic senior citizen pension system will be a disgrace to the Park administration. It will also be a critical mistake in Korea's welfare history.
Now, also at the center of attention was how the Justice Ministry handled the inspection of now former Prosecutor General Choi Dong-wook, which later led to his resignation. While the ruling party was on the same page with the ministry on ordering this unprecedented inspection, the DP claimed Choi was targeted for political reasons, going as far as to say it was a war between the government and the prosecution. And on the nation's economic front, Korea's consumer prices grew at their slowest pace in 14 years. In September, Statistics Korea says the year-on-year rate of increase fell below 1% for the first time since 1999, when the rate was also at 0.8%. Experts attribute the slowed growth to a drop in the prices of agricultural products, but add this doesn't mean it's a turnabout towards deflation. Now, meanwhile, Korean exports fell slightly last month from a year ago. The Trade Ministry says exports in September shrank 1.5% to around $45 billion. The average value of exports per day, however, posted a record high of over $2 billion. Imports, in the meantime, dropped to about $41 billion, widening the trade surplus further to $3.7 billion.
And happy Hump Day, everyone. It was quite a spectacle yesterday, the largest Armed Forces Day celebration in a decade that involved thousands of men and women in uniform, as well as government officials and civilians. 동아일보 has a front-page image that captures a shot of it, showing the massive hour-long military parade that came after the pomp and circumstance at the Seoul Air Base, which you saw in the headlines. Now, the parade began in Sungnaemun and ended in Gwanghwamun in Seoul yesterday. And the Gwanghwamun Street March involved some 4,500 military personnel, 37 types of mechanized units, and 105 equipments. And they all swung through Seoul Station, Seoul City Hall, and Chonggak Station, a march that was broadcast live. And certainly if you were in that area yesterday, you know there were no cars running through those hours. Meanwhile, the paper's main headline captures the President Park Geun-hye's main message, and it reads, President Park says Korea will secure kill chain Korea air and missile defense system early. And these are the two measures that the president mentioned as deterrents to the North Korean long-range missile and nuclear threat. Kill chain, by the way, refers to the military's ability to take out a target preemptively using missiles and or fighter jets. The paper says that while such plans had been in the agenda and included in next year's budget, it's the first time that the president mentioned the KAMD at a public event. And scooting over to 조선일보 next, its front page image displays Korea's new cruise missile, the Hyunmoo-3. It has a range of 1,500 kilometers. That's within range of North Korea and can hit a target within a 3-meter window, according to the caption. Meanwhile, the headline next to, or rather under that image, reads Korea-U.S. alliance entangled in China-Japan variable. And the subheadlines go on to explain this entanglement, that is, that the missile defense system that the U.S. wants Korea to have faces strong opposition from China, while the collective self-defense revision that Japan is seeking appears to be receiving tolerance from the U.S. despite Korea's objection to it.
Eunice, South Korea, the U.S., Japan, and China all in one formula. That's a complicated equation right there.
That's right. We're all in a similar boat, so certainly it does make things a little bit more complicated. Now, the other recurring news item on the front pages today is the U.S. government's shutdown It's on the side story here on 조선일보, as it is on our next newspaper, 중앙일보, right here as well. But we'll go ahead and take a look at the story on 경향신문, which actually commits the story as its top Wednesday headline, and it does read, U.S. federal government shuts down after all. Obama's hands tied by Congress. And the sub-headlines say that this is the first time in 17 years that the U.S. government has shut down since the Clinton administration. It was triggered after the two houses of Congress failed to agree on next year's budget by its deadline, and that a public service crisis is anticipated as a result of it. We will return to Korea for a look at our final headline for today. Korea Economic Daily's headline reads, under mounting budgetary pressure, even 국악 performances are canceled. And the story basically highlights the pressure the central government is placing on public entities to save what's left of their budget for use next year. More specifically, to put away 30% of their budget. Now, the article has a source from the National 국악 Center telling its reporter that it had to cancel its 세종조 40년 performance that was to open on the 30th later this month, as well as its year-end 나눔 performance to meet this directive, as about 60% of its budget goes toward personnel paychecks and operational and maintenance expenses. Now, the insert shows in red the government's deficit at the end of the year by trillions of won, and as you can see, it has grown over the years, and this year's deficit is projected to be 23.4 trillion won. The reason for such budgetary squeezing, the article says, is to prepare for next year's budget, particularly for the possible scenario of shortage in tax revenue. And with that, we'll close this edition of In Print. Next up are your closing numbers from Tuesday's market action.
So the word is that we're expecting some drizzle in some parts of Korea today.
I didn't check that, but we will get an update on the weather. Joining us from the Seocho district is Dami. Good morning,
Good morning, Dami.
Is there going to be rain?
Good morning, everyone. Today I am reporting live from Gangnam, and yes, we are expecting nationwide precipitation, but not to worry because we won't be receiving as much rain. Here in the central regions, we'll be receiving just a couple of millimeters, and then later in the afternoon, conditions will clear out. Now, this morning, currently, we are seeing mostly cloudy skies, no sunlight to be found, and a bit of a breeze in the air, which is making it feel a bit cooler, but current temperatures are at 18 degrees Celsius. Now, once the rain does come to a lull, it looks like temperatures are going to gradually drop, which means by tomorrow, which is National Foundation Day, temperatures are going to be quite cold, so do prepare yourselves for that. As for the weather forecast, it looks like typhoons have been on the down low here in Korea, but over the weekend, we may expect Typhoon Fido, which is currently in the Philippines right now, to strike Korea around Sunday. Do keep yourselves updated with the weather forecast. All right, well, that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather around the peninsula. Here in Seoul, highs will reach to 23, Daejeon at 24, Daegu will be the hottest at 27. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
And now we're going to take you to a local post office where thrifty cell phones and cell phone plans are being offered to consumers. It's making your head tilt, isn't it? Our Connie Lee is here to tell us more. So Connie, would you care to explain, are they second-hand phones that you're talking about?
Well, Hyung-kyung, they're actually brand new phones, from regular flip phones to some of the newest smartphones out there. Now, customers can get these phones at the local post office at much cheaper prices. But is there a catch? Let's take a closer look.
Letters are being stamped, packages are being shipped, and cell phones are being sold here at one post office in Korea. They're called budget phones, and with their economical phone plans, they're about 30% cheaper than those sold by major mobile carriers.
I went to a number of major mobile carrier stores, and the minimum prices were about 10 times higher than these budget phones.
Since Friday, these budget phones have been available for purchase from the Korea Post in partnership with 6 different mobile virtual network operators, or telecommunications service providers that do not own a network. Instead, these operators borrow the network infrastructure from owners like KT or SK Telecom.
From the conventional flip phones to the newest smartphones, customers can choose from 17 different budget phones at their local post offices.
Even Samsung's newest phone, the Galaxy Note 3, can be bought on a budget.
To lessen the burden of high cell phone bills, the government wanted a way to make these budget phones more accessible to people. That's why they're being sold at local post offices. Also, practically, it's a way for the Korea Post to make some profit as third-party vendors.
Phone plans can run as low as 1,500 won, or less than $1.50 a month. Plus, there are no sign-up fees, and you won't break the bank for a brand new phone. Currently, these phones are sold at 226 post offices nationwide. But if things go well, the Korea Post expects to expand the number of locations to more than 2,000. So far, more than 1,000 phones were sold, with most of the subscribers being older or those in their 50s and 60s.
Older people like myself don't need much. I just needed a phone to simply make calls and check email.
Once purchased, the phones are delivered to the buyer within 2 days.
So you might ask, how are the phones and the plans much cheaper here at post offices than at the mobile carrier stores? Well, first off, the mobile virtual network operators, or the MVNOs, subsidizes the phones. And as they don't have actual stores, they bypass the retailer and the dealer in the middle, saving on cost. And unlike the major mobile carriers here in Korea, the MVNOs don't offer other benefits or discounts. For instance, consumers who sign up with KT or the largest mobile service provider here in Korea, they can get discounts at different restaurants or at different entertainment venues.
Right. So that could be one side, not getting all the benefits. But I mean, what about the choice of handsets? I would imagine that there won't be too many to choose from.
Right, so right now at the post offices, there are 17, so a little more than a dozen. And actually, one of the shoppers yesterday, he wanted a white LG Optimus phone. But unfortunately, the budget phone of that particular model only comes in black. So you don't have as many choices as you would at a mobile carrier store. Another downside is that consumers do not have easy access to customer care services once they purchase these phones, since these different MVNOs don't actually have a set offline location.
But the biggest benefit, of course, would be the cheaper prices. But my burning question right now is why the post offices?
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Well, the Korean government has been trying for the past 2 years to offer more of these budget phones to relieve the burden of high cell phone bills that people in Korea are facing. But these budget phones, which have been selling at some retail stores and convenience stores, never really took off. One, not many people knew about it, and two, it was hard to find stores that actually offer these budget phones. And so the government thought of a way to make these phones more accessible. And so they now have post offices, which are located in nearly every neighborhood, to sell these budget phones so that consumers don't have to travel too far from the neighborhoods to get their hands on one of these phones. And also people who live far from the city, like in rural neighborhoods, they also have a chance to get these budget phones at their local post offices.
Now, before the show, you did mention that it seemed like these phones were being received very well, although it's been only a couple of days. But how are the major mobile carriers carriers reacting to this program, though? No worries about their market share?
Good question. Well, according to the top 3 mobile carriers here in Korea, which are SKT, KT, and LG U+, the answer is no. And although the number of MVNO users or budget phone users is on the rise as of late here in Korea, the share of MVNO phones in the nation's total number of mobile phone subscribers is pretty low, at about 3% right now, with a little over 2 million subscribers. Now compare that with 54 million subscribers to major mobile carriers. Now that number is actually higher than Korea's population. And also if you compare the number of MVNO users in Korea to other countries, it's still just a small number. In Europe, these budget phones account for at least 20% of the market, and in the US, it's growing at about 10%. So less people in Korea use these MVNO phones, but it is steadily growing.
Right, and you never know when their answers, the major mobile carriers' answers, will change when they see a jump in the market share. But anyway, thank you very much, Connie, for your report, and see you next week.
You're welcome.
And could it be junk food? Could it be lack of exercise? Could it be bad eating habits? Later on in Korea Today, we will look at some of the main causes of childhood obesity. And there she is. We have a case for one Korean girl, and that will be the story for Korea Today. And we'll take a look at how to combat this unhealthy trend at home and also at schools.
Today is the International Day of Older Persons here in Korea. The actual day was yesterday in other parts of the world, designated by the UN in 1990. But because yesterday was Armed Forces Day here in Korea, the International Day of Older Persons is celebrated today here in the country. And if you're looking for some great gift ideas, Angela Park joins us with some great ideas, right?
Yes, good morning. Believe it or not, Korea is one of the fastest aging societies or countries in the world. We're looking at about 14% of the population will be made up by people over the age of 65. As you can imagine, that means the industry for elderly products is going to go up as well. Right now, we're looking at $20 billion of a market.
That's a huge market.
Right, but in 2018, it's going to jump up to $78 billion. So I have a few of such products from that industry.
All right, let's get started. I'm really excited about this. So what is this first item? It looks like a speaker.
Well, that's basically what it is. It's called 심청이. That's the name of the product here. And what it is, more specifically, it's a wireless voice amplifying speaker system. Now,
okay.
Minjung, have you ever tried to watch TV with maybe someone a little bit more elderly? You're okay with a certain level of volume, but they need it to be a little bit louder.
Right.
Thus, it's kind of thrown off.
So the desired volume for each family member is different. So maybe this will help you with that, right? So let's try this. Okay, so let's pretend I'm the senior member of the family.
That's a lot of pretending we have to do.
But, so what do we do?
Well, we link this up. This is the transmitter to the TV. It comes with a little wire. You plug it in, and then it links up through infrared lights or rays, that hooks up with your speaker, so you don't need a wire for your speaker.
Okay.
That way, the elderly, your grandparent, whoever it is, can carry around the speaker to wherever they're sitting.
Okay, let's try this first and hear it. So we're watching. Oh, so you do hear that echo,
It comes out of here. So if you see on our TV screen back here, we linked up the transmitter on top. We have some K-pop show going on. I can't hear actually, Minjung. Could you make it louder, please?
Right. So so this would just only for the senior members. He would have to, or he or she would have to carry it around and have this amplified effect, huh? So how far can you be away from the transmitter?
We're looking at about a 7-meter kind of a range there, and it doesn't sound like much, but if you think about it, you're only going to stick around in your living room anyway, so 7 meters should be enough.
So aptly named too, I have to say. 심청이, she is the epitome of filial piety, right?
Right.
All right, so this next next item looks like I don't know
Bulletproof
what
vest?
I know. What is this?
This is called the Anmawang. Another kind of fun name. Anmawang in Korean means massage king, right?
I'm sold already.
You want to try it on?
Massage king.
So you put it on like kind of like a vest here, and as Minjung buckles that up, a lot of us are familiar with the massage chairs or the massage wand that you kind of have to hold, you know. But the unfortunate part about that is that you're limited. You have to stay in your chair, or one hand is busy, minimum one hand, holding your massage wand.
Easy to wear too. All you have to do is just buckle up.
And you adjust it to fit you tightly, snugly, nice, so that, you know, the massage impact is whatever level you need it to be.
Okay.
Do you want to start it?
Okay, all right. Aha! It feels like you're tapping me on in the back, right?
There are 7 different levels of pressure. Yeah, if you could turn around, you could show our viewers that it sounds like popcorn. I'm sitting right next to it.
And it hits the right spots, the sweet spots that I want it to hit. Why is that? Like, does it?
Well, it's designed or was designed using the Korean medical acupressure points. So it is targeting, like you said, those sweet spots and level of pressure you adjust. Not to mention, these are made from solenoid coils or solenoid features that heats up naturally. So instead of like the copper wires where you use electricity, it's not going to overheat. Once it hits 40 degrees Celsius, it shuts off automatically so that you have the optimal level of heat.
I can feel it. It's nice and warm in the back.
I'm not going to be able to get that back from you.
No, we'll keep this on and talk about the next item. No, actually, we should turn it off so I can concentrate too, right? So, and this is nail clippers?
Yeah, it's funny because I was telling Minjung before the show, inventions are really basic, simple ideas.
That's true.
But it's sometimes the best inventions are 2 very simple products coming together. So for a third item, it's just your conventional nail clipper, right? And
But
this
what's
is
special about it?
a lot of things, or one main thing actually. This is made from, of course, if you take a look, it has both 2 nail clippers and nail clippers, but 3-7 Corporation. This company exports nail clippers to, we're talking 90 countries all over the world. So they do know what they're doing with nail clippers, but the unique aspect is...
I was wondering about that magnifying glass, too.
It comes with the magnifying glass, and because our nail clipper is made out of steel, it sticks right on.
How neat is that? With that simple idea, you don't have to worry about losing it. Wow, so you can see your finger better and the nail better, and then, should I?
Yeah.
On live TV?
But you have nice nails. Oh, okay.
So it really helps the elderly, the senior citizens who might have a hard time just you know, trying to look at your
right. And Minjung, you just clipped your nail, so I'm sure you could feel, but
it's sharp.
It is indeed. The blade is about 4 millimeters, and what that means is about 1.5 times stronger than your conventional average other company nail clipper.
Because I've noticed that senior citizens, they have a bit of thicker nails too, right?
You're absolutely right, and that's where these toenail clippers come in. It's pretty big.
That's a gigantic
It's
toenail.
gigantic.
Right.
If you look at the blade, this is as well 1.5 times stronger, but the gap in between is a lot thicker because, like you mentioned, senior citizens tend to have thicker nails with age, right? So this, of course, you can put the magnifying glass on top of this as well if you want to, but also, if you flip it over, it comes with a little nail file
for the entire family. For the okay. All right, that's pretty neat. So thank you for these great ideas. I think I'll go with the nail clippers, more affordable too. Right?
Is that right? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. day has ended there, but our day is just beginning.
That's right, it sure is. It is 7:29 a.m. on Korea Today, and we're seeing increasing news reports of childhood obesity, and for good reason. According to the Ministry of Education, the 2012 figures for student obesity has reached an all-time high at 14.7%.
And a lot of parents used to say your baby fat will go to your height, and also call pudgy children pleasantly plump, and weren't really concerned about childhood obesity. But according to experts, 80% of those pleasantly plump children will likely suffer from lifestyle diseases later on as an adult. So it's not a laughing matter, and we'll find out more in this report.
Alarming news articles about childhood obesity are pouring out these days. It's the rapid increase in the obesity rate that's especially drawing attention. We visited a young girl to gain a better understanding of what causes childhood obesity and what serious repercussions it has. 11-year-old Hyoryeon has a much larger build than peers her age. We took a trip to the doctors to see how her overall health is. After receiving tests from a specialist, we learned that Hyoryeon's health is much worse than we expected. She has entered the severe obesity range, and it's possible that she will have other complications due to this.
She is considered morbidly obese for her age. She has a very high body fat percentage at 42%. Her blood sugar measured at 125 when it should be below 100. This number indicates that her body no longer responds normally to insulin and is at risk for lifestyle disease.
Childhood obesity is much more dangerous than obesity in adults. Fat cells only increase in size in adults, but in children, the actual number of fat cells increase.
Childhood obesity is the cause of all illnesses. Children who are obese are likely to be obese as adults. Childhood obesity is the worst disease that can be passed on.
We look closely at Hyoryeon's eating habits. At the dinner table, she reaches first for ham and sausages. She doesn't touch other side dishes and continues to eat only processed foods like ham.
My favorite side dish is sausages with cheese.
After her meal, Hyoryeon devours on fast food. Not long after her full meal and without any moving about, she continues to snack on high-calorie foods. Experts attribute the recent spike in the childhood obesity rate to fast foods and processed food products, as well as bad eating habits.
Traditionally, the Korean diet was mainly consisted of vegetables, but as our diets became westernized, the amount of body fat increased due to higher consumption of high-calorie processed carbohydrate foods like white bread. Also, the amount of outdoor activities has decreased. The problem is that we consume too much compared to our daily energy use.
To improve these unhealthy eating habits, various efforts are being made. This elementary school is busy with its fall sports day events. Students here do not eat processed foods or fast foods at the school.
My children are not picky eaters and they like vegetables as well. I owe it to the school.
To understand what this parent means, we head to the school cafeteria. Nothing immediately stands out, so what's so special about their meals? Instead of fried foods, they bake ingredients in an oven. and instead of white rice, they offer yellow and black multigrain rice. There are no processed foods, no fried foods, and no fast foods to be found in this kitchen. Since 1999, the school has persistently offered low sodium and mainly Korean dishes.
Our meals are served with 100% brown rice. We do not offer processed foods like ham or sausages. Also, we do not offer fried foods since they cause obesity.
To better manage childhood obesity, Isu Elementary School decided that it was important to adopt a systematic meal program. Their energetic students are perfect examples of the effectiveness of healthy meals.
There are many delicious side dishes. None of it is salty. The rice tastes great and it's much softer than I expected. This is what I've eaten for the past 4 years. I think this tastes much better than sausages.
And it's not limited to school lunches. The school has their students record what they eat outside of school in their meal journals, which teach them to examine their daily intakes independently. Thanks to the school's hard work, Isu Elementary School recorded the lowest childhood obesity rate in Korea at only 7.4%, much lower than the country's average.
Children are exposed to many processed foods. However, our students do not eat snacks such as cookies and ice cream. You can look into our country's future by looking at the current state of our children's health, so I believe it is extremely important to help them form healthy eating habits early on.
Isu Elementary School has worked hard for the past 5 years, and by doing so, they may be providing a fine example to keep children healthy nationwide.
The schools need to work hard and parents need to have rules on eating and understand nutrition. They need to set up eating rules to help form proper eating habits. Parents and communities should lead the way by applying healthy eating principles.
In a 2009 report, the obesity rate in Korea was at the lowest among OECD member countries at 3.5%, but last year it rose to 4.1%. It's still significantly lower than the OECD average at 22.2%. But it's the rate at which it is increasing that's alarming, especially when it comes to childhood obesity.
That's right. Childhood obesity can, as you mentioned, and as the video mentioned, can have adverse physical effects, but also emotional as well. Children who are overweight may get teased, and they may not be able to partake in many sports activities and fall into solitary activities like playing video games. So what the school is doing in providing healthier foods is a good move in teaching these kids and getting them used to healthier foods.
That's right. And officials at Isu Elementary School said it was a bit tough in the beginning, convincing the students as well as parents that this healthy meal plan was good because the students didn't like the healthier foods.
Of course
while the
not.
parents, some of them said the school should focus on improving their grades rather than working on the school meal. But in the end, everyone's happy about the healthy meals that they provide, the school provides.
I mean, the food in general in Korea is becoming more westernized, but I'm just worried that if my future kid just insists on eating ham and sausages over vegetables and healthier foods, what am I going to do? I don't know. I don't know how I would handle that case.
So you just leave that out of the plate for your kids. But it is really difficult to handle childhood obesity. Unlike adult obesity, childhood obesity has different effects. If you're cutting off a caloric intake of a child, then this may take away from the nutritional factors that a child does need for their growth. I mean, kids are growing and they do need their nutrition. And it seems that obese children, they recommend that they take 1,000 to 1,500 calories a day, and instead of extreme calorie restriction, focus on increasing awareness so that they can form healthy eating habits. And here's some guidelines there. There they are, right there. Eat 3 balanced meals a day and eat slowly. Eat slowly. Eat a high-protein, low-carb, low-calorie meal, and use small plates, smaller portions more frequently. And eating slowly, you can't emphasize that more than enough because a lot of times your stomach doesn't really know, and it doesn't tell the brain that you're full until you're already too full.
Right.
So eating slowly will help you eat less, right? And the health benefits of eating 3 balanced meals at a slow pace is very important and integral.
And these are guidelines provided by the Korean Nutrition Society. And I want to focus on number 5. Do not let your kids eat alone, because your meal time should be a happy time for the entire family, and do not let your children eat in front of the TV, for example, and because they could be emotionally hungry and not physically hungry, right?
That's right. I end up eating a little bit more when I eat alone. I say, okay, no one's watching, so I'll just have a little more.
Right, and that guilt
I would
pleasure,
say that's
right?
for a different reason, right?
All right,
All right,
a parent can't really teach and really control their child's eating habits 100%, but they can sure help, and these school programs do help.
All right, well, still ahead on Korea Today. It's going to be a lot of fun on Korea Today. There's going to be a century-old showdown where two historic rivals, Yonsei and Korea University, face off in annual sporting games. A festival full of cheering, dancing, and partying boosts the school spirit and lets the students blow off some steam.
All right, it's time to play ball as we kick things off in the KBO. Now, we're just a few days away from the end of the regular season and yet is still heating up in the pennant race. In fact, the Samsung Lions got closer to clinching the pennant by beating the Hanwha Eagles 8-2 last night. So with that said, take a look at the other two games that took place, starting off with the NC Dinos taking on the Nexon Heroes. Now we're going to start off in the second inning of the game with Kang Jung-ho at bat, and he drills this one to deep left field. There it goes, a two-run shot over the left field wall, and it's 2-0 Nexon. Fourth inning of the game, here's Kwon Hee-dong with an RBI double to deep left center field. Cho Young-hoon comes in to score, and it's now 2-1 Nexon. Fifth inning, super rookie Na Sung-bum with two men on sends this one to deep right field. Back, gone, a three-run shot, and the NC Dinos now take a 4-2 lead. Seventh inning, here is Kwon Hee-dong once again. This time, it's a two-run double to right center field, and it's 6-2 NC Dinos. Meanwhile, Lee Jae-hak tossing 7 innings, giving up just 3 hits on 2 runs while striking out 7 batters. As the NC Dinos take this game 6-2, your final score. And next up, the LG Twins taking on the Lotte Giants in Busan. Second inning, Park Young-taek with an RBI single to center here as the LG Twins take an early 1-0 lead. Shifting to the fourth inning, here's Park Jong-yoon with an RBI single to center, and we have a tie ball game. Sixth inning, Hwang Jae-gyun this time in an RBI single to right center field gives the Lotte Giants the 2-1 lead. But in the seventh inning of the game, here's Lee Jin-young, Mr. Clutch. Two-run single to left field, and LG now takes the lead 3-2. Eighth inning of the game, check this out. Cho Sung-hwan grounds this one to the pitcher. Lee Dong-hyun throws to second, but a bad throw as Im Jong-hyuk scores, and we have a tie ball game. Bottom of the 10th inning, men on first and third. Kim Jun-tae chops one over the mound and into center field. His first hit of his career and a game winner as the Lotte Giants win this one 4-3. And now moving on to volleyball as the Korean men's national team faced off against Kazakhstan in the round of 16 and won in straight sets 3-0 to advance to the quarterfinals of the 2013 World Championships. Now, Kazakhstan is the second tallest team in the tournament, but Korea, despite the disadvantages, cruised through thanks to their technical game. All right, so moving on, we're just a few days away from the start of the 2013 Korea Grand Prix in Yeongam, and just yesterday, the machines arrived in Korea in preparation for the big race. With all the machines and car parts arriving at the Incheon International Airport on Tuesday, race organizers begin their preparation for the big race starting on October 4th to the 6th. And with the race in its 4th year, Sebastian Vettel, Red Bull Racing, hopes to win his 3rd straight Korea Grand Prix title. So far, the German racer has a commanding lead in the driver's standing with 247 points, with Fernando Alonso at 2nd and Lewis Hamilton at 3rd. And now finishing things off with the 2013 World Gymnastics Championships currently taking place in Belgium. Korea's Yang Hak-sun is doing what he does best, doing his flips and turns all the way to the top in vault. Now, after the first day of the event, Yang Hak-sun averages 15.299 after pulling off the Yut-2 and the Sukahara triple to finish first after the preliminary rounds. The South Korean gymnast saves his signature Yang 1 for the final round, and he plans to showcase the Yang 2 for the first time during the finals as well. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Time now to go back to our Dami, who is standing by the Han River, looking quite ravishing.
That's right. The theme of flowers and Idami seems to go hand in hand, and we'll get a look at what she has for us on this Wednesday morning.
Back to you, Dami.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. I'm back reporting live from Seodae Island, Hangang Park. Now, this whole Han River headquarters have created 4 fields filled with buckwheat flowers, each the size of 20,000 square meters. Now, you can find them here at Seodae Island, also Changwon, Mangwon, and Yanghwa. Now, as you can see here at Seodae Island, the buckwheat flowers are in full blossom, and it is giving off a magnificent view. Buckwheat flowers are known to blossom yearly during the time of early autumn, giving off a white color. The scent isn't too strong, but it's known to have much nectar, so many bees actually feed off of them. As a matter of fact, this morning I am seeing a couple of bees feeding off of the buckwheat flowers right now. Now, buckwheat is known to contain a glucoside called rutin, which is proven to help prevent high blood pressure, hardening of the arteries, strokes, and more. If you collect a fully blossomed buckwheat flower and take a dose, it's actually known to energize or give your body energy. As a matter of fact, standing here at the buckwheat field is making me feel re-energized and a bit hungry, as a matter of fact, because there are a few delicious meals that you can have with buckwheat, such as one of my favorites is buckwheat noodles. All right, well, all I can say is that the view and the scenery here is very beautiful, so don't miss out on this opportunity. Come by with your loved ones and take a stroll in the park. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting rivalry, Cambridge and Oxford, the Bruins and the Trojans. And in Korea, there's the crosstown rivals, Kodae and Yeondae. To talk more about this, we're joined by Peter Bin. Good morning.
Good morning. Peter.
Yeah, that's right. So every fall, right about now, there's the annual Fall Sports Festival between these two universities. It's the Yonsei University and Korea University's annual Fall Sports Festival.
I went with Korea University first, but you went with Yonsei first.
Yeah. With all due respect, I will punch you in the face if you call it Yeongojeon. It's Goyeonjeon.
That's her alma mater.
Especially here, right?
So it's known as both, right? Sometimes the Yeongojeon and sometimes the Koyeonjeon.
Right?
But I go for Yeongojeon most of the time, going to a Yonsei University for a little while.
Battle it out right here on Korea Today.
A game, an arm wrestle perhaps. But there is this fierce rivalry, and it's been going on for many years. It's not just famous in Seoul, but throughout Korea is one really intense rival between two colleges. And they're two of the most prestigious private universities, and the rivalry dates back to 1945, and they've held this every year for 68 years. So get ready to be blown away by the energy of these two rivals. Let's take a look. It's the end of September, and two giant rivals in Seoul are about to battle it out. Korea's top prestigious private schools, Yonsei and Korea University, compete in a full sports festival. Using the first syllable of both, the event is called Yongo or Koyeon Games. It's one day ahead of the festival, and students from both schools are busy with preparations. The school's cheering squads have prepared a rehearsal session to help everyone enjoy a better experience at the Koyeon Games.
You can see
the reason for cheering orientation is to familiarize ourselves with the school's cheering culture and develop companionship among the students prior to the games.
That's one interesting couple.
Ready to try all the routines we practice at cheering orientation? Korea University fighting!
This is where a 3-hour cheering orientation will take place. Here you can learn routine chants for both schools and also the choreography.
3-hour orientation. Are you kidding?
It's hardcore. Wow. And this culture only exists at these two schools. And not only do you attend freshman orientation, you have to go through these sessions as well. Happens 3 times a year for each university's festival and one joint session. 1940 is when the Koyeon Games really became what is celebrated today. And with time, each school added sports they were confident in, and thus the games became a more dynamic festival.
Long before being known as Korea University and Yonsei University, Boseong College and Yeonhee College had exchanged in tennis matches. In 1965, the two schools officially selected 5 sports: soccer, basketball, baseball, tennis, and ice hockey, and started the Koyeon Games.
The baseball game is about to be held at Korea's largest baseball stadium, but it's packed 3 hours before the game. So the much-anticipated 2013 Korean Games kicks off, and the students' passionate cheers for victory fill up the stadium.
Wow.
It's like World Cup all over again.
Exactly. And the baseball started off the 2013 Korean Games, and since it's the first game on the first day, competition is fierce. And this is no different in the students cheering, and two universities, they have distinct cheering styles.
See all the reds?
Go Blues. And when Korea University scores its first point, the students put their arms around each other, and together they bend forward and back to the rhythm of their victory song, 벤노래. But following a blunder in Korea University's defense, Yonsei University scores point after point, and it seems like victory is on Yonsei University's side, obviously.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah, but the fans, their cheering looks a little bit disorganized.
Thank you.
A fun cheer with a slightly taunting lyrics. The Yonsei University's cheer song, One Shilim, booms across the stadium. And unlike Korea University, its cheers are more lively and free-spirited.
It's
I want everyone to enjoy the
It's on the
game, so I
script.
hope you don't cry when Yonsei University wins.
We're eternal rivals, so I hope we can share the joy together.
See? Share the joy together.
So both universities, they step up their cheering at the next basketball game, and it's the most popular sport at the Korean Game. Back in the 1960s, the winning school would proudly take their victory flag and march up and down the Jongno intersection in the heart of Seoul. So it's the first of 3 victories out of 5 wins the games, and unsurprisingly, Yonsei leads the record.
Unsurprisingly?
Right now.
I just missed that. You and I need to talk.
It's the last match and the winning for the winning team, and it's in full swing. And soccer is very popular with the crowd. And the result of this soccer game determines the winner. All Korea University needs is a tie, and if Yonsei University loses, that would be the end. So the students put all their energy into cheering more passionately and aggressively.
Looks like a soccer match between Korea and Japan.
I thought Korea University
You're
was
right.
determined and destined for victory, so I am a little disappointed. Hopefully, we will do better next year.
Only
Not a
more
disappointing face.
and only more intense, I have to add.
Yeah, the games, though, they ended in a tie, and the festivities, they continue long after. And the students gather around in Shincheon, which is right in front of Yonsei University, for a train ride into the night. It's an after-party event called the Human Train, where everyone puts aside their rivalry and comes together.
For the record, they're not drunk.
Just the passion.
Yes.
As the night grows darker, Shincheon becomes a
The
battleground
human
for
train is something that
continuous
we
cheering.
do after the festivities. After the games, restaurant and store owners congratulate us by providing food so that we can continue the after party.
The Korean Games offer fierce rivalry, but a chance for bonding as well, and the atmosphere is as passionate as the cheers. As they say, Yonsei University, look forward to your dreams. Korea University, bond with them. The Games have become one of the finest collegiate cultures of Korea.
I see you've translated Korean전 into Korean Games. It's more like Korean War,
War.
Korean battle, I say. Really,
Yeah.
it's that intense,
But it's
right?
nice how they come together afterwards, right?
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever, right? But a lot of these athletes shoot to fame and stardom after these games, right?
Sure, I did some research on this, and it was really surprising that many of the college basketball players from the 90s who appeared in the Yongo or the Korean Games, if you wish, they went on to become national celebrities. So their basketball college careers translated into professional careers, and they helped make the league as a whole much more popular.
And, you know, the whole dispute between whether it should be Korean or Yeongo, so what's the deal here? What's the rule?
It's not some petty squabble at all. It's actually the opposite, you know. Each university tries to honor the away team because they take it in turns to host the games. So when Yonsei hosts the games, it's officially called the Korean Games. And when Korea University does it, it's the Yongo Games. So it's actually really nice and honorable. I don't know why we're fighting. evening. We're friends.
Right, we're friends.
That's a good
whatever.
way to really
Frenemies, I would say.
Yeah, well, maybe you guys should hang out in the streets of Sinchon tonight and make a human train of
Well,
yourselves.
the festival is over, I believe. It'll be a little
We
weird
need
for us
peace
to do
in the
that.
studio right now. All right, well, thank you very much, Peter, for that report.
No problem.
All right, you heated things up here.
All right, well, thank you, Peter, once again. And some, I believe, college festivals will continue on throughout October, so make sure to check it out, right?
It is a big season, this fall season, so enjoy those if you can. And that will do it for this edition of Korea Today.
Many thanks for watching. Join us again, same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.